Investigations are scenes where the heroes try to gain information that for some reason they can't just be told. Remember that for later, it's gonna be important. A murder scene where the heroes need to leave no evidence, or a masked ball where they don't know which of the dancers is friends or foe. Investigation scenes are the most important to your players' immersion. Your players, when they have a question, will assume the answer to that question is the average quality of the last 10 questions you answered. That means if the last 10 questions they asked, you answered with, magic, I guess, they will assume you will answer the same this time. That means they might not even ask questions. But if every question they ask leads to a really amazing investigation scene, they will assume that any question they ask will lead to an investigation scene. By the end of the video, you will know everything I know about running investigation scenes. You'll know the formula I developed with some subscribers in a Discord call, and you will get to see me actually implement this in a session I'm running next week. And we better hope I've got some good ideas, otherwise my players are not going to be very happy with the session. So what's the investigation I'm preparing? My players are currently exploring the Island of Doom. It's controlled by the dragon Zaladrad, who is a gloom dragon, but the mystery is not where Zaladrad is. It's about the lost god. In my world, gods gain their power from the people who believe in them. If nobody believes in a god, they cease to exist. So a lost god doesn't make much sense. It's an open loop. The players want to know what, or where, or who the lost god is. What would a 1 out of 10 answer to this question look like? The next place my players are going is the temple of the lost god. When they get inside, they could find a journal from one of the priests of this temple from before the dragon took over, and in it could say, the god we worship was already lost, we don't know who they are. That would be pretty anticlimactic. We haven't answered the question, we've just postponed answering the question. It would kind of feel unearned to the players. We've set up that by going to the temple, they're going to learn this stuff. When we consistently give bad answers to questions like this, our players start to tell us that our world doesn't feel realistic. As DMs, when we hear this, we often try then to go and look up science and other things to make our world make sense. No, I am correct. This takes total sense because you see I've done all this lore. What then happens is we end up not giving better answers, just longer ones. And that means sometimes we accidentally come across a better idea, but typically it's just longer, it's more work for us. And in my experience, DMs who go down this route slowly write longer and longer answers to their questions until they're sending their players long 30-page documents that nobody actually reads. While I think your world feeling realistic is really, really important to the game, I don't think the solution is focusing on realism. It's focusing on making the game fun to play. Anytime I feel stuck on this, I go back to the book, So You Want to Be a Game Master. It's a really good beginner's guide to running. I would recommend it, and it's got some really good stuff in there that even after I'd run for years, I got a lot out of it when I read it. You start off with a goal state. What do the heroes want to learn? Then you come up with 3 to 5 things they need to know to learn that information. You then put in a final node at the top of the map for where the heroes are currently. You then come up with clues to connect each of these things. You want about 3 clues going between each of the layers so that if the players are really silly, they can still solve the mystery. If they miss 3 clues or destroy the clues or misinterpret the clues, all 3 of them, that's a skill issue and you're allowed to let them just fail at that mystery. So the start to my mystery was that the heroes found a map with many points on the island. Some of these points had clues to the lost god within them, so the heroes could go there and learn about it. The end node could be something like the lost god is the patron saint of the island. The dragon captured the lost god and is holding them in their lair. If the heroes can fight their way to the dragon's lair, they can free the lost god, thus learning their name and defeating the dragon. Their clues to this could be that if they pray to the statue in the forge, the voice comes through to them and says, you must face gloom head on to find me. At the temple, they might find an old hidden notebook from a priest who's written after the dragon invaded but before they'd taken over the whole island that says, the gloom has taken our god for his own. The dragon, next time they encounter the players, might gloat to the players and go, you cannot defeat me, for I have the island itself on my side. Now that would be a 3 out of 10 solution to the problem. We're still just telling the players something, but they have to figure out part of it to themselves. They have to go and find these clues. They have to figure out what they mean. You can combine these nodes in many different ways. You can have as many as you can want. You can have multiple mysteries nested together. You can have linear mysteries. You can do whatever you want. So we've narrowed it down. We're looking at clues. Matt Kelvin on a stream a little bit before Draw Steel came out, the guy who created Draw Steel and invented the DM advice format on YouTube. If you want to make the players look at the cherries, don't say there are cherries on the table, say there is a bowl of fruit. In the Forge, if we wanted the heroes to look at the statue, we might not say, there is a statue of a lost god. We say, there is a statue of a god. Okay, but real question, as a player in Draw Steel and other TTRPGs and video games, I really hate this. Why are we hiding the information from the players? I don't think this is a very good solution. I understand where it's coming from. The players asking questions can feel like we're playing the game. But in my experience, if you get good at this, what it leads to is your players just asking loads of pointless questions because they don't know when you're not communicating something important and expecting them to ask questions. And what I find it leads to is players getting in the habit of asking a kind of set series of questions to try and bait the information in the room out to them. Like, I check the room for hidden compartments. I check the bookshelf for secret doors. I check for traps. I had one player who asked me every single NPC's favourite colour. That's not playing the game. That's just asking loads of questions to get to the same point we were going anyway. So I don't think hiding information is correct. I don't think that's the correct path to go down. Remember what we said at the start of the video. Investigations are scenes where the heroes try to gain information that for some reason they can't just be told. We need to add Chekhov's gun. In a scene where two people are just chatting to each other, if the camera pans and we see that one of them is pointing a gun at the other, that scene is suddenly more dramatic. We need better verbs for our investigation scene. So why on the island can't I just tell them about the god? Why can't they just read it in a book and get the information? Well, we know the information is spread out over many places and they're going to need to travel between them. But in the actual locations, why can't they find it out in the temple? Well, maybe the temple is only accessible during the first hour after dawn. And so when the heroes go inside, they need to find the information they're looking for, but every room they search takes time. Now when they enter a room, we can say stuff like, there's a desk, there's a bookshelf, there's a chimney you could check, and there's 2 doors to watch. The players then need to pick which of these places are we going to look for. You probably need for that scenario more places than there are players, but that's not super important. The important detail is they now have to make decisions. They might say stuff like, okay, we don't want to waste our hour looking through every book now. Let's put them all in our rucksack and take them outside. Well, now we might need to make a might test. They might try to be like, okay, instead of picking the lock on the desk, let's just smash it open and look for something. Okay, well, they rolled a tier 1. Now the desk has been destroyed and the contents inside it. The masquerade ball we mentioned earlier. Why can't the players just intimidate everyone to telling them? Well, 2 reasons. 1, the noble they've been paid by wants the party to be a success. They need it to run smoothly. And 2, if the heroes let the villains know that if the heroes let the villains know that the heroes know that the villains are trying to kill the noble, we got there in the end, and the villains will just abort and come back another time. Now the noble isn't safe, they just have to wait till the next time to have the same problem again. What's our solution for investigation? We need to know, what are the questions the heroes want to know? What do they need to know to work it out? We need clues to connect those points, and we need to make getting the clues a hard problem. This feels simple enough, so let's go across to Live Frederica, who's going to try and implement it for her actual game. Take it away, Live Frederica. Pack your recording, Frederica. Did you do what script writing Frederica told you? We'll find out later, I'm sure. Editing Frederica will let you know. Okay, what do I already know? I know that Zaladrad, the dragon, the Gloom Dragon, killed them when he took over the island. I know they were the patron saint of the island. I know they were connected to nature in some way. I think the dragon did something to destroy their name. Like, I think there's some ritual they need to undo at the temple. This is something I'm figuring out. What else could Zaladrad have done? Zaladrad completed a ritual to steal the god's name. This was done before the kingdom fell and was an important part of it. To defeat Zaladrad, this must be undone. This was done before the kingdom fell. Once Zaladrad came to power, the monks and nuns of the temple realized that's what they'd done, so destroyed the god's name to prevent Zaladrad taking more power. Let us create, what we're going to want is we're going to want one of these. And we know the players currently know, the only thing the players currently know, so we're going to color this one green so we know it's where the heroes are starting. And we're going to color this one orange to know that's where we want them to end up. What are the clues that could let us find out this? The name was destroyed before the kingdom fell, I think could be this. I think this could also nicely lead into that, so that we know these are both going to feed like this. I know this fact, but my players don't. I think that is an important thing they need to know for any of this to make sense. This is like a tangential fact. I don't think it's really that this leads to that. It's just that you need to know the players at some point need to learn this fact, right? So we need some ways of ways of the heroes gaining that. The name was destroyed. So this is our 5 nodes. So we need clues leading like this. We probably need this to be 2 ways, and we need a 3rd way. I feel like we need another way for them to figure this out. Why would they do that? Why can we come up with a moat? Can we learn something about how the ritual took place? Aha! What we've just learned here is that the way this adventure will work is at the start, I'm going to tell the players, this is like a little separate thing. We need to come up with something to happen for them to learn this information. That's point number 1, right? We could put this like this or something maybe. So it's not, actually, I'll leave that over there, right? So we'll move that over there. So this is like a little side tangent thing, right? It doesn't connect to the thing. The heroes need to learn, we need a clue for them to learn this piece of information. Let's do like this. So they can learn, they should be able to, by going to locations, learn that Zaladrad did not destroy the name himself, right? This is probably from the temple. Let's assume this is from the temple. So at the Lost Gods temple, they can learn that Zaladrad did not destroy the name himself and that the ritual took place here, right? Those 2 things. That means they should be able to figure out that the ritual happened before this point. And all of this should lead them to the conclusion that the monks destroyed the name for some reason. That's interesting because if they also learn this somewhere else, they should be able to infer, actually, it's not that they should be able to work out this clue, that the destruction of the name weakened Zaladrad. Maybe even the ritual can tell us that. That's how we get our 3 clues down here, right? So the heroes can learn that names are stolen for power, then possibly able to work out that's where Zaladrad got the name from, or they can find the ritual and figuring out that they've done, the monks might leave a note to say that, right? So we're starting to learn what these clues might be. Note from monk explaining why name. I feel like that clue could be as simple as an NPC asking that question, or the players. The players, I think the players will be able to figure out this clue as a question, right? And with this information here, this is just stuff that they can work out. I don't actually think necessarily. I think it's more like these are the 3 nodes that the heroes, if the heroes work out these 3 yellow nodes, I don't need to tell them that they can work out this. They should be able to work that out. We don't need clues along these points. Now the question becomes, how do we tell the players this information in interesting ways, right? So I think this is probably some encounter somewhere. Encounter. At some point in the past, the dragon lived in peace with the island before the Fire Nation attacked, as it were, or the humans did something, right? Not saying that he was being a good person, just that this happened, right? So then we get down here. The monks destroyed the name, so they should be able to work this out from all this information happened before the dragon was in charge. So they didn't do it. The dragon doesn't even want it to have happened. Ritual doesn't want it to have happened. So we can put this in red as like something that the heroes can just figure out by themselves. Once they know that, they can infer that it must have been done to weaken the dragon, right? So we now know more about the timeline. Takes the god's name in secret. They grow in power over a long time. The monks work it out, but a little too late. So they destroy their own god's name, so the dragon can't have it. This happens at the same time the dragon Zaladrad completes their takeover, but that weakens Zaladrad enough that they can't complete whatever their evil master plan is. We're going to worry about the evil master plan at a later date because I don't want this video to get too long, but the real question is, how do we make the finding out at the ritual location interesting? So we have 3 things we need to figure out. We have, I think the names can be stolen for power. All we need is an encounter with a monster that tries to steal a PC name. Like maybe a hag coven. I don't quite know what the maths works out or if this even makes sense, but I feel like 2 hags could be quite fun against the players. Do we think level 8 heroes can handle 2 hags? Our favorite page. If the heroes were 4 level 8 heroes, 80 EV. So a hag is worth 60. So not if they were both full powered hags, but if we if we slightly weaken the second one, right? If we take out the villain actions and reduce their stamina a little bit, we could definitely have, if we make a hag stat block, reskinning monsters, how much is the EV modifier effect? Times 6. So you divide by 3, that would be 20. So 2 hag elites, I think a hag coven of 3. Hag coven of 3. Random encounter. I feel like at some point when they're traveling, they can bump into a hag coven at one of these locations. Maybe when they go to the city, they can find that they live here. That can hint at this idea of the names having power, because when the hags get hold of the name, they can consume it, and I'll make the, like, there could be some shenanigans here. That will say this piece of information. Whether the PCs pick up on that is another question, but that's up to them. Not really an investigation. But you know what I mean. The dragon lived in peace with the island for years. This one, I think, is something to give to the players at another time. Just like a random note. Like, in the forge, they notice that we are also successfully opening up a new mystery as to, like, why did the dragon go evil? Maybe the dragon was always evil. It just took 400 years to enact their plan. So that's all we need for that. The ritual, though, we have a couple of lore points to figure out with the ritual. So a lot of this, I think, will revolve around them needing to get into the temple, and the temple being an interesting place to be in. I liked the idea of it being only open an hour at sunset or sunrise, but I'm not a big fan of that. I feel like that's a little bit too... I kind of like the idea that spending too long in the temple might slowly turn them insane, right? Like, the temple, the rituals had a strong negative effect on the temple, and the players need to be careful of that. I think this is what the effect is. The ritual's effect on this room. Anyone who steps foot in the temple hears constant voices in their head telling them to turn back and lead. This is how the temple protects itself from the undead, and it kind of even keeps the dragon away. Every 30 minutes inside the temple, the heroes need to make a reason test. If they get a tier 1, they go mad, they spend a recovery, and we consult the bad outcomes table. If they get a tier 2, they fight hard and win, but it costs them a recovery. Tier 3, they are fine. On a crit, they're fine, and the voices give them a helpful clue. These clues can then be scattered throughout the map inside the temple. So when I come to run this session, I will make a map, and I will think about where they can find this information. And I think the temple needs to be quite Warren-y, so that as they're walking around, it's taking time to explore everything and look through stuff. Because I think a lot of the books about the gods, their pages have just been turned blank or ink splotted. Like, I feel like that. Like, I like the idea that... I think it's a good idea that each of the things is just ink splotted, if that makes sense. I'm so sorry that I've had the input overlay on the whole time here. I'm not going to re-record. So what do we do? Does this feel like a successful investigation mystery? We know what the mystery is they're trying to solve. They're trying to figure out why did the monks destroy the name of the god? Because it weakened Zaladrad. To learn this, they're going to need to learn these 5 clues, which will lead them to these 2 kind of inference things they can do to lead them to the conclusion. The reason those are interesting and not just a boring old I just tell them stuff is that the names can be stolen for power is an encounter where that is what the villains are trying to do. We never actually say that's what Zaladrad did. We just say villains can do this, and hopefully they will be able to pick that up. We can see that the dragon... We will find out that the dragon lived in peace before the battle. This is the least interesting. This I would say is quite a bad bit of investigation, but they're going to find it somewhere unhelpful. I'm not going to tell it. They're going to have to figure that bit out again. This is a mystery part of it. And then the ritual, the temple itself has the most information in it, but getting around the temple has a consequence to spending too long there. So the players will have to take risks and move through the temple and have an interesting time. I think that sounds like quite a fun session. So, alright, if you want more adventure design with me, you can check out this very long video where I make an entire campaign. If you're new to Draw Steel and want some help learning the basic rules, there's a basic Draw Steel video. And if both of those sound bad, the YouTube algorithm probably knows you better than I know you. So go check this, go check the one it's suggesting out. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. If you're on mobile, give the video a hype. That's the brand new spanking new feature. And I'm recording this on my 4-month anniversary of being on YouTube, and we got monetized today. So I'm very sorry if you've had to watch ads in this, but You have to understand. I gotta make money somehow one day in the future, maybe. And don't worry, there's no secret bonus video. You can leave now. Bye bye.